Hello, Officer Tony here. Today we got kind of a different episode. Today Ricky's gonna go Christmas shopping for his own stuff. Yeah. Instead of sitting here in front of this keyboard that he never plays on the videos, he's gonna be a disembodied voice with a computer screen. This should be wonderful. We try a lot of stuff on this show. When it's all done, I'll edit it together and we'll see if this fiasco makes any sense.
Okay, here we go. Let's see what I've got bookmarked here, and let's see what conclusion, if any, I come to. So we start with the Helix Native. Now, this is normally a fairly expensive piece of software, but if you already own an HX Effects or an HX Stomp or any kind of Helix deal, you can get it for $99. Actually, $99.99, so it's $100. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, well, here's the deal. I already have the Stomp, and how likely is it that I'm going to need to use more than the what the Stomp can do on one of my recordings? Probably not very likely. I mean, you know, inside a Logic Pro, I've got reverbs and delays and that kind of stuff. So, but here's why it's worthy of consideration. Two things. Number one, I could record using the Stomp, and I can, while I'm recording, I can have the Stomp set to whatever sound I want, but then I can record not only that sound, but also the direct sound via USB. It's super easy. So then later, that clean guitar signal that I recorded via USB, I can put that through the Helix Native plugin, and I can tweak it, and I can do all kinds of crazy stuff because I'll have more, you know, I can have way more blocks. Now, part of me thinks that's a great idea. Part of me is kind of like, well, do I really want to make all those decisions down the road, though? Like, wouldn't I rather just record the thing? You know, how many hours do I want to sit there tweaking settings after I've already recorded the guitar? But then here's another thought. The deal is, it's a plugin, so I can use it on anything, not just guitar tracks, but also vocal tracks or bass or keyboards. So for that reason, I think this is kind of a compelling idea. Okay, now here's another interesting one, the Fender Shawbucker 1 Humbucking pickup. I have played this pickup through a Bassbreaker 15, which is my amp, in a Strat, because this came standard in some of the American Strats for a while. It might still be, I don't know. And it sounds amazing. My favorite pickup is the Pearly Gates, but this guy is pretty darn good too, and I can't help but wonder, if I had this in one of my guitars, would I like it even better? It's a great pickup. I'm really tempted. Okay, so now I'm kind of giving away my budget here. I'm looking in the area of around $200, which means either two things that are $100 each, or one thing that's around $200. I know how to do fret work. I know how to do level crown. I've done about 10 to 15 refrets, and I enjoy working on guitars. I don't do it every day all the time, but if you have a big collection, it's very cost effective to learn how to do your own fretwork. And I've always wanted to build a guitar kit. Ultimately, after I retire as a web developer, I've thought it might be interesting to get into building guitars, or maybe even just building my own guitar necks. I'm not really sure. Maybe I'll do that, maybe I won't. But for sure, I've always wanted to build a kit. So StewMac makes good kits from what I have heard. There's cheaper stuff on Amazon, which we're going to see shortly, but this is really tempting to me. One of the reasons it's tempting is because if I were going to buy this, this is exactly what I would do. I would make it exactly this color. And I think that this is probably, having never done guitar paintwork before, this is probably a more realistic goal for me than like some kind of crazy tobacco burst, right? I think this is something I could probably do. So it's a mahogany body, it's a maple neck. It looks like a good idea. It's got the headstock that you can shape yourself, which is pretty cool. Not quite sure what shape I would do. I'm almost positive I'd end up replacing the pickups, maybe the electronics, I'm not sure. Probably have to do a level crown. But this is also appealing to me for another reason. I could make a good series of videos out of it. So the idea of a guitar kit is very appealing to me. Let's look at the next one. So here's something that is way on the cheaper side. This is brand unknown. Yeah, this is a $96 guitar kit. Now, I can tell you right now that if you want to buy a halfway decent neck, the neck alone will normally cost you around $100, probably more. But is that just my own bias? Like, maybe I could get this thing and build it, and it'd be pretty good. Who knows? I do know that there's probably a lot of interest online for, building one of these cheap guitar kits for under $100. That's tempting. What would I do with it when I'm done with it? I have no idea. I already own 3 Strats, so that's a strike against it. Okay, so now we've got another one by Unknown. And this is an SG. Now, why do I have this bookmarked? Well, it's a little more money, but it's an SG. I don't have an SG. I don't have an SG copy. And part of the reason for that is I'm not a huge fan of SGs. I love the way they look. I love the way they sound. But to me, I always feel like the neck is almost like I'm playing a bass. Like the neck is so far out there. On the other hand, I've always kind of thought, well, I kind of need an SG for my collection. At $160, the stakes are not too high on this guy. Again, probably end up replacing the pickups and the electronics. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, look at these tiny little dime pots here. I bet these work. That's about all I can say for them. And then, of course, you got a terrible guitar cord and probably really crappy pickups. Everything here is probably low quality. But it's an SG. Kind of talking myself out of that one, aren't I? Next, this has nothing to do with music. This is a Raspberry Pi 4 4-gig kit, and it's got everything you need. Now, why would I want this? Well, I built my own home arcade machine a while back, and there's pictures of it on budgetguitarist.com, and I'm currently powering it with a really old Mac Mini. Well, the thing is pretty big, the Mac Mini is. I mean, not big compared to a tower computer, but compared to this, it's big. These are actually pretty small. So, yeah, this kind of appeals to me. I like the idea I could take this and build it with basically Linux on it. I could run RetroPie. Is that what it's called? Retrocade? I don't know. There's software that I could run on it. And then I could put it inside of my arcade machine. So not a music thing, but, $85, I'm tempted. I could get one of the $100 music things plus get this. And this would be another fun project. Would I put it on my YouTube channel? I don't know, maybe. What's left? Okay. So the difference between the amateurs and the pros is the tools they use as well as the results they get. So here's the thing. I have a fret crowning file, and it works pretty well. But when you listen to interviews of luthiers who, the real pros, almost always they're using diamond fret files. And a diamond fret file, basically, it's a file that instead of cut metal, it uses diamonds. And so the advantage of this is that it supposedly can make a smoother cut and a more accurate cut. And also you can go back and forth with it. It's not just one direction. So $100 for a file might seem outrageous, but there are tons and tons and tons of pros who use this fret file or a similar one just like it. I know it's a lot of money. On the other hand, though, if I buy this with the amount that I use it, it's probably going to last me a decade. And so I am definitely very tempted. What's next? Here's an interesting choice. So $229.99, a little over my budget, but a Squier Affinity Series jazz bass. I have a Schecter bass, and I have a Squier Affinity P bass that I pulled the frets out of. But I always wanted a jazz bass, and I have no problem whatsoever with the Affinity bass series. I think they're great. For the money, I think they're killer, and this is tempting to me. And then last but not least, for audio recording. The idea of this is like a fancy remote control. So it's got a slider on it, a fader, which is actually motorized, automated. So as you're mixing a track, you can select a track and then you can control the volume or any parameter of the track with the fader. And when you play it back, the fader will move. It's got a little motor, That's pretty cool. And it's got all the controls there. So what this is it doesn't give you any new sounds or any really new killer features. It just makes it easier and faster to work inside your DAW when you're mixing. So it'd be fun to own. Do I want to drop $220 on something that doesn't actually do anything I can't already do? Like, it just makes it a little easier. I mean, I can do the exact same stuff on my iPad and on my phone, but this is physical hardware. Is it worth $220 to be able to do that? I'm going to say no, probably not. So what am I leaning towards? Man, let's go back through. Yeah, this looks like a really good choice. Probably not, because I've already got like 3 Pearly Gates pickups. So, I don't know. The StewMac kit, this is definitely tempting because I think I would build an instrument that would be good quality. The cheapy Strat kit, probably not. The cheapy, not quite as cheap SG, maybe? You know what's maybe the deciding factor for me here, though? Look at this. This is a bolt-on neck. Well, SG is supposed to be glued on, so I'm thinking probably not. So if I do a kit, looks like it'll be the StewMac. So this guy here, the Raspberry Pi, man, I don't know. Maybe. It's such a cool idea. It'd be so much fun. The $100 fret file, at some point in time I really want one, but probably not. And then the Affinity bass, I already have 2 basses, probably not, and probably not. Okay, so I think I've got it ruled down to either the Helix native software and the Raspberry Pi, or the StewMac kit. Boy, that's tough. Those are probably my 2 options at this point in time. Not sure what I'm going to do.
So there you go. That was sort of a look inside my brain when I'm trying to figure out what to purchase. Most people aren't like me, but I know there are some people like me where when you get $100 or $50 or $150, whatever it is, you agonize over it. And you go over every possible thing that you might consider buying. And you try to do the calculations, as if you're Apple computer trying to decide like what kind of CPU you should have going forward. Like it's this big mission critical decision. Actually, I can tell you right now what I did. I ended up going with the StewMac Telecaster kit, and I ended up going with the Helix native software. And the reason is that I got some money from the website, budgetguitarist.com, which actually does make money. Doesn't make a lot, but every so often it makes me some money. And so I took that and I spent that on Helix Native. And like I said, got the StewMac kit. So I think it's going to be fun. I'm going to be featuring both of those things in future videos, especially the guitar. That's going to be like a 10-part thing probably. I mean, it's going to take me forever to get that put together. I have no idea how I'm going to stain or paint the body. I'm going to have to figure that out. That'll be part of the journey. Anyway, so don't stop believing in the power of the electric guitar, and I will see you again next Friday at 5.